Togo, speculation after the violent death of a Togolian from the German diaspora in Lomé. What really happened? For the past week at least an audio recording in Minna, accompanied by a photo of a man, has been circulating on WhatsApp Messenger. The information conveyed by the audio gives chills in the back, because it is a violent death of a Togolese citizen. The circumstances that would have preceded the brutal and unexpected death of our compatriot of the German diaspora in the country are scary and provoke outrage, especially when we recall the evil political climate that has prevailed in Togo for several decades, and especially the persecution of opponents, especially those from the diaspora, taxed very hostile to the power in place. However, despite the dictatorship that we denounce, despite the many human rights violations to be put into action by the Gnassingbe regime, must we still pour into the amalgam, to the truth, to the truth? Do we need acts that could serve the noble causes of the real Togolese opposition? So, to avoid countertruths caused by unavoidable passions caused by the political situation in our country, from taking over, we have decided to investigate here in Germany, from compatriots who have known our brother who has now disappeared closely, and who would be aware of his trip to Togo and the real circumstances in which he found death during his stay. The victim's name is Akakpokona Akawete Lewis and arrived in Germany in 2003. Our compatriot lived in the Düsseldorf region in North Rhine-Westphalia, Nordrhein-Westfalen, where he would have reportedly worked in a nightclub in the city of Duisburg as a security agent. By dying, he leaves behind his family in Togo and a German companion with whom he would have a child. Based on our research from friends, especially those who knew Akakpokona and his family back in the country, and lived in the same region as him, it would be very unlikely that the version circulating on social media is true. Indeed, the information that the unfortunate man, when he landed at Lomé airport, had spoken hostile remarks against the Togolese head of state for Gnassingbe, and was followed to his home by militia or agents of power to be beaten to death, has not been found was confirmed during our investigation with Togolese from the German diaspora who knew the victim, and that we questioned. However, several testimonies from different sources that we have contacted are unanimous in acknowledging that the late Akakpokona died as a result of disproportionate violence perpetrated on him by elements of the Togolese law enforcement forces. How did we even get to this drama? Our late compatriot of the German diaspora is reportedly suffering from mental disorders that occur sporadically at unexpected periods, and it would be one of those mental breakdowns that negatively affects the reason, of which he allegedly fell victim in the rented apartment during his stay in Lomé. So, losing control of himself, he reportedly began to litter furniture and other belongings around him in the villa. Neighbors and people from the river, unable to control it, would have called, as happens in all countries of the world, to the police, in short, to the law enforcement. Arriving at the scene, these, faced with the resistance of the overwork that was of an impressive size, would have in turn called for reinforcement. Which body do the elements called reinforcement belong to? At the gendarmerie, in the army. Our contacts questioned were unable to answer this question with certainty. It is always true that the security forces, facing the resistance of their client of the day, and regardless of his abnormal condition, did not do it in the lace and would have violently hit him. Exhausted by the violence inflicted on him, Akakpokona collapses and is transported to hospital for treatment. Days later he returns the soul. Here is briefly told the sad story of a Togolese citizen of the European diaspora who went to the country to visit his family, and who will not return. Our security forces in Togo are most often accused of confusing the methods used for maintaining order, to control a person, with violent repression, and the impunity enjoyed by the angry sheep in the police or the Togolese army that continue to make so many victims, be it in terms of political repression, maintaining order or disproportionate behavior towards any citizen in conflict with the law, unfortunately leave the way open to perpetuation of commissions of violations of citizen and human rights. May our compatriot Akakpokona Akawete Lewis rest in peace. Our deepest condolences to his family and all who knew him. The Togolese security authorities have a duty to review the police intervention and the circumstances leading up to his death. With human life being sacred, this mentality should be put to an end in Togo, which has unfortunately been prevalent for decades, where it feels that the policeman, police constable or military have the right to life and death over other citizens. Chojobo Youth Germany.